Check. 1, 2, 3.
The D-Brief. This is the D-Brief.
Your guide to Detroit.
Your guide to Detroit's arts
and entertainment scene.
This is the D-Brief.
Welcome to the debrief for the week of January 22nd, 2018. I am your co-host. My name is Seth Ressler.
And I am Mike Jeter.
What's going on, man?
Dude, I am just delighted to be here. I'm very excited. Always excited to be on a debrief, man. It's Monday.
It is Monday. We're going to talk about all the concerts, comedy, movies, plays, and everything that's coming to the Detroit area. Mm-hmm. We've got some very special guests on today's show. One, I believe he is your Obi-Wan Kenobi, your Yoda.
He is my comedy Yoda,
if you will. This is stand-up comedian Bill Bushart.
Big mentor. Love that guy, man.
Yeah, so you and I both took the Comedy 101 class over at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle. That's how we got in the game,
yes,
right?
Yes, sir.
And Bill, of course, teaches that. And he's got this big competition that he's putting together, the Detroit to LA competition. It's been going on for like 700 weeks now.
I think it was going on in the middle of the Obama administration.
It was. Look, I was knocked out in like round 37.
Yeah, now they want to, kind of tie it up before, they quit letting people travel by air in this country. So.
But the finals are finally coming up, so we're going to talk to Bill about that. Also, we're going to talk to Marc Geelhoed of the Detroit Symphony Orchestra. This is a big deal because the Detroit Symphony Orchestra has been nominated for 2 Grammys. And
what?
The Grammys are coming up. Yeah. So
didn't they do something with Kanye?
Maybe that was it. Maybe that's what they got nominated for. We'll ask him and we'll find out. Also, the Meridian Winter Blast. You ever been to this?
I have. I was there just last year. I love it. Love it, man.
I've never been. So this is the big, basically winter festival that they do in the middle of downtown, campus marches and all that. So we're going to talk to the producer, Jon Witz, find out all about that. Plus, very big announcement. We are looking for a co-host. We've been talking about this for a little while.
Yeah, we are, people. Come on through.
Yeah, so if you want information, go to thedebriefdetroit.com/co-host, and you can get all the information there. But we definitely feel like we need a third person to join the party.
Man, and you want to join this party.
Yeah.
It's a party.
We have fun.
Ain't no party like a debrief party.
Ain't no party like a debrief party.
The Debrief.
History lesson.
All right, here's the way it works. I am the new guy to the Detroit area. I say this all the time, but
you are.
It's true. I've only been here for a couple of years. I am learning. You are from the area. You born and raised.
Right. I'm well versed in all things southeastern Michigan.
Yeah, so in an effort to school me, to teach me what's going on, so that I don't sound like an idiot when I'm talking to
get you learned.
Yeah, you give me homework at the end of every podcast episode, and I go and do my research and come back and I tell you what I learned about the stuff, and hopefully you learn some new things too in the process.
You've taught me a couple new things.
Yeah, 1 or 2.
Yeah, one or two.
So what was the homework for this week?
Well, this week, my friend, it was about the Underground Railroad and how Detroit played a role in all of that.
Yeah,
huge role in it.
I didn't actually know this before I moved to the city. I had no idea. I just, I didn't think about where the Underground Railroad. I grew up in California. We didn't have an Underground Railroad out there, and until I saw the statues on each side of the Detroit River. So that was the first I really knew about it. So I did some homework. Here's what I learned, because it was big. It's estimated that as many as 45,000 runaway slaves passed through Detroit. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people. There's an estimated 200 Underground Railroad stops that were in Michigan, and there were 7 known ways to get from Michigan to Canada. Because that was the thing. You wanted to get to Canada because Canada, slavery was abolished in Canada by the British Imperial Act in 1833. Actually, when Michigan was accepted into the Union, slavery was illegal here, but there were still bounty hunters that would come over. So if any escaped slaves came up here, they would go looking for them. And especially after the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850 was passed, that was where freed slaves could be kidnapped and denied counsel and taken back down south. So it was good to get to Michigan, but it was better to cross
to Canada.
Right, to cross over to get into Windsor.
And you know what? It's still that way today. You could drink young over there. Anyway, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So, one of the goals was to get to Sandwich First Baptist Church in Windsor. And so there were conductors. These are the kind of the important people that are shepherding people through on the Underground Railroad. Some of the notable names were Seymour Finney, who was the owner of the Finney Hotel downtown. That's not there anymore. It was taken down when they put up the Chamber of Commerce building in 1892, but there is a plaque there. You can go find it. The Second Baptist Church in Greektown. which is one of the oldest black churches in the Midwest. It broke off from the First Baptist Church basically because of discrimination. And it had a code name. It was the Croghan Street Station. That was its, because there were all kinds of code names for everything in the Underground Railroad.
Right, because that's, black people, that's what we do. We give code names everywhere.
Give code names?
Like you have, my sister's name is Jacqueline, but we call her Peaches.
Oh, all right.
Things like that.
You have a code name?
I do.
What is it?
Pop Bottlehead.
Pop Bottlehead?
Yeah, my
where'd that
siblings
come
aren't
from?
nice. They're just...
Pop Bottlehead. All right, good to know.
Something like that.
Anyway, the Second Baptist Church, the church's first pastor, the Reverend William Monroe, was a conductor in the Underground Railroad. Dr. Nathan Thomas, who actually founded Michigan's Republican Party, was one of the conductors in the Underground Railroad. Because, once upon a time, Republican Party, very
anti-slavery.
Very anti-slavery once upon a time.
Yeah, they used to help out the poor and downtrodden.
Yeah, right, once upon a time. George de Baptiste was a barber, and he was a free man who came up from Virginia. And actually, he owned a steamship. I want to hear this story of how he got to the point where he actually owned a steamship. I didn't figure all that out, but he's
especially as a barber.
I know, right?
What kind of dough was he making?
That's a lot of haircuts, right? I mean, I know what I pay at Supercuts, and
he was probably doing weaves back then. Those were still expensive.
But he would take slaves across the river. And look, if you want to learn more about the Underground Railroad here in Detroit, there's a number of places that you can do it. You can actually go to the Second Baptist Church or the First Congregational Church, which is once a station, and they now have a replica of the railroad down on its lower level.
Oh, dope.
Yeah. You can go to the Detroit Historical Museum or the Charles Wright Museum, of course. And then there's that, like I mentioned, the Gateway to Freedom Memorial that's in Hart Plaza, where, there's one on the Detroit end, people looking across towards freedom, and then you've got everybody on the other end looking back.
On the Windsor side,
yeah,
Canada.
The Windsor side, right. So
it's pretty neat.
Yeah, it is. So this was definitely a big deal. This was kind of like the second to last place you got to go, and if you made it here, you were in good shape. So
outstanding.
Yeah, I did what I could.
Yeah, man.
All right, you ready for the second half of this little exercise here?
Oh, the pop quiz. Give it to me.
This is how it works. You give me homework. I return the favor by giving you a pop quiz. And I've got something brand new for you this week.
Nice.
You asked for some dramatic music.
We got
some dramatic music for you. Okay, here's how it works. I'm going to read you 3 statements. 2 of them are true. 1 of them is false. You have to try and identify the false statement. You don't have to do it right now. You've got to the end of the episode. Right. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, we talked about code names. Statement number 1. The code name for the Detroit stop on the Underground Railroad was the Northern Horizon.
Okay.
Number 2, George de Baptiste was the valet to William Henry Harrison while he was running for president.
Okay.
And number 3, abolitionists Frederick Douglass and John Brown met in Detroit on March 12th, 1859, at William Webb's house, where they disagreed on the role of violence in the abolitionist movement.
Yeah, one wanted some violence, the other wanted way more violence.
Yes.
Like Quentin Tarantino level.
All right, so you think about it, and at the end of the episode, we'll come back. We'll see how you do.
All right.
Welcome to the deep. Breathe.
Funny stuff.
All right, Mike, what's going on in the comedy clubs?
All right, my friend. Friday, January 26th, Jim Norton is coming back to town at Andiamo Showroom in Warren, and opening for him, good friend of mine, Sam Rager. She's a very, very funny young lady, local lady, Michigan favorite.
Yeah, she's great. You just performed with her, didn't you?
Yeah, just last night, and it was the best show, one of the best shows.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah.
Also, on the Friday and Saturday, Tom McCarthy, he will be performing at Big Tommy's in Novi. Also this weekend at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle, the very funny, super gorgeous, so got a crush on her, Jody White is going to be there all next weekend. And on Friday night, Mike Bonner's Uptown Friday night will be at the Comedy Castle.
Now, for people who don't know what that is, explain what Mike Bonner does there.
What he does is he has a monthly show. It's the last Friday of each month. And what he does is he'll bring in some urban comics, nationally known urban comics, and he puts on a late show there, like a 9 o'clock show.
Okay.
But It's definitely worthwhile. I strongly recommend going down and checking that out. At the Ann Arbor Comedy Showcase, the comedian's comedian, Mr. Stuart Huff.
Now, explain what this means, because I hear this term all the time, and I haven't been a comedian long enough to have other comedians.
Well, a comedian's comedian is a comedian where other comedians respect their game. They respect their act. They respect them as they're highly revered in a comedy community.
Oh, like Dane Cook.
Yes. It's like Dane Cook. Silly guy.
All right.
Also, Thursday through Sunday at Punchline Comedy Lounge. That is in Southfield, Michigan. Atlanta comedian Marcus Combs is coming through. And at the Holly Hotel, my good friend, the very funny Jason Bency, is coming in with Brett Klein. And that's at the Holly Hotel, and they'll be there next weekend, Friday and Saturday.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And then tell me what's going on with Monique, because you were telling me a little bit about this before we started recording the show.
Yeah, well, superstar comedian. I guess she's a superstar, depending on who you speak to. She was offered $500,000 by Netflix to do a special, and she turned it down, and she was offended by it. And she asked, "Well, why would you offer me $500,000 when you gave Amy Schumer $10 million, and Chris Rock and Dave Chappelle got $20 million?" So what she asked her fans to do on social media was to boycott Netflix for racial discrimination and gender bias discrimination.
It's getting to the point where some of these companies are kind of big to boycott. You know what I mean?
They're way too big. And as a friend of mine put it, you look at Netflix. Netflix is $10 a month.
Right.
You know, as opposed to going to a movie where you're paying $30, $40 in one fell swoop. So you're asking people to cut out their entertainment or rather eliminate the small price that they're paying for this service in support of someone who is turning out $500,000, which a lot of these people won't see in their lifetime.
I mean, you believe in a cause. I'm all about being an activist about it. I'm all about putting your dollars in a place where it's going to make a difference.
Absolutely.
But you tell me I got to go boycott Google and I'm in trouble, or boycott Facebook or boycott Amazon, you know, like, what do you mean? I got to go to the actual store again? Like, forget that. I'm not doing that.
Pepsi or something like nah.
It's tough. So, all right, coming up in just a few moments, there was a meteor that was flying through the sky over Detroit and caused a big earthquake. We're going to talk about that in just a sec.
Brief.
Want more? Text the word Detroit to the number 444-999.
All right, Mike, you said you've been to this. I never have. The Meridian Winter Blast.
Oh, yes.
And it's coming up again this year. It's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday downtown. All the details are over at winterblast.com. So tell me what it was like when you went.
Well, they have different types of rides, like a sack ride. They zip lines, they serving food out on the streets. It's just a big powwow. It's a festival in the street.
It's a reason to go party in downtown
Absolutely.
Detroit in the middle of winter.
Another reason to go party down because there's plenty of reasons to go.
Well, I had an opportunity to sit down with Jon Witz. He is the producer of the Meridian Winter Blast. He also does the big, arts beats and eats that happens in Royal Oak every summer.
Right.
So,
oh wow,
yeah. I mean, he's a big event producer.
So he's got summer and winter on lock.
Absolutely, he does. So, and I had an opportunity to talk to him. I asked him to tell me the history of the Winter Blast, and this is what he said.
So the history is really cool. It was founded to be a trial run for the hosting of the Super Bowl in 2006. So it kicked off in 2005. The national media was doubting Detroit, to say the least, as so many people do. And the Winter Blast was the activity to really activate the city, for the Super Bowl. So in 2005, before the actual year, the event was so successful that it became my goal as producer and others to see the event continued past 2006 because it worked without the big game and certainly during the Super Bowl, hugely successful, estimated at 1 million people, 33 blocks of fun, and the media gave Detroit rave reviews, and we've kept the event going as the true legacy of Super Bowl 40 in Detroit.
So let me ask you something, because I hear about this every once in a while. I obviously wasn't here when this happened, but that Super Bowl had an impact on this city.
Had a huge impact on the city. Restaurants and venues popped up, and I think that almost was like the springboard for what's going on down there right now, downtown. a bazillion people was down there, and it was freezing cold that winter too. And people still came out of the woodworks to hang out in Detroit. So I think that was the impetus for all of the things that are happening down there, springboarding down there right now.
Now, when you say people were down in Detroit, I mean, I go down to Detroit, almost every week at this point. I'm down in downtown, but that was kind of unusual back then.
It was very unusual because back then it was still a little empty down there. Of course, again, they had new hotels and stuff to draw and attract, but it's nothing like it is now.
Really?
It's completely like almost a 180 from what it was back then.
Well, the Winter Blast is obviously one of the things that came in because of that Super Bowl.
And it was a great move to keep that going.
All right. Well, and I asked Jon about some of the stuff that goes on there, starting with the ski slopes. Here's what he said.
Boyne City Slopes is what it's called, and Boyne Mountain and Boyne Highlands are actually building two 15-foot hills, one for snowboarding and one for skiing, really meant for instruction as well as the novelty of snowboarding down Cadillac Square in Detroit into Campus Martius Park. That's, so even the avid, snowboarder would just get a kick of doing it, but it's really meant to teach folks that have not skied or snowboarded, the opportunity. Boyne's bringing 20 ski instructors and 200 sets of skis and snowboards, and it's a free activity, and it's going to be unique to see the snow being made and people snowboarding and skiing on the streets of Detroit, in a winter festival setting. It's going to be fun. It's not going to be the biggest hill, or it will have a trick for the snowboarders, but it's really, meant instructionally. It's going to be amazing.
Are you a skier?
I am not, but I am intrigued about it. I have bad knees, man.
Yeah.
Football injuries and stuff. So I was told that skiing isn't the best, but then someone also told me the cross-country skiing.
Yeah. I did that once when we were a kid and we got lost. It was miserable. I'm never doing that. I'll go do this, though, because, you can't get lost, cross-country skiing across campus marshes.
No, you're horrible with directions if you do.
All right, well, another thing that happens every year is the Polar Plunge. Here's what Jon said about that particular event.
So the Polar Plunge is Special Olympics does these events around the state where it's a pool of water that's ice cold, and it's going to be cold. Look, the weather forecast is seasonal temperatures, which can be chilly, especially in the morning, and when I'm going to go in anyway. And you raise money and get people to pledge to you for jumping in this pool of water. It is certainly the Ice Bucket Challenge on steroids, where you literally cold outside jumping into shockingly cold water, and we'll have divers from the Detroit Police Dive Team there to pull you out if there's a problem. But it's exciting, and we're going to raise some money for Special Olympics. I've raised $1,000, and I'm jumping in a couple times just to try and rally the public to come down and jump in.
All right, how about it, Mike? You going to jump in?
I will if you will.
Dude, I've never done anything like that.
I've never done it either, and I can't swim.
So then, all right.
That whole police diving team, yeah, that's going to have to happen.
They're coming after you then,
Except that it's going to be like pulling up the Edmonds Fitzgerald, because I'm a pretty hefty dude, man.
Yeah, so.
And when I get cold, I tighten up. I get more tense.
You must float?
Yeah, if I stop breathing, it just no, dude.
I grew up on a swim team, and we would get in the water. I mean, it was an outdoor pool. We'd get in the water, but this is in California, so you could swim in the middle of December or January. But out here, I don't know about this, man. It doesn't sound heated to me.
Yeah, well, it's only for a little while,
right? And it's for a good cause. Mm-hmm. We'll get somebody else to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll delegate.
We'll get two imposters.
We'll get the intern. We'll send him in. They also have a winter slide and a zip line there. I asked Jon about those as well.
The Meridian Winter Slide is 75, 80 feet. You start 28 feet in the air, and you're flying down, literally 20 miles an hour down a tube on Michigan Avenue. And Thrills last year, 9,000 people went down it, which is more than went down our snow slide the year before. We went to tubes just in case it was too warm to make snow, so it was kind of a new novelty of the event, and it really was so successful. We are bringing it back this year. And then we also have the zip line. The winter slide is $3, and the zip line is $10, where you start 34 feet in the air, fly 300 feet. It's the largest mobile zip line in North America, and it is 300 feet, and it's a thrill. You'll be flying down Woodward Avenue, looking into Hart Plaza and the Detroit River from high in the air, and hopefully landing by Congress.
Hopefully.
The confidence.
You ever ziplined?
No, because again, I'm a girthy guy, and I think it would be more like a zoop line.
Yeah.
All I would have to say, just everyone below me, just watch out. There's going to be snapping legs and twigs and everything else.
I've done it before. It is a lot of fun. I mean,
I would do it, man, but I'm telling you.
But will they let you, or are they? Wow. See, my whole life.
I can't get on segways. I can't.
My whole life as a short guy, you always got to be this tall to ride on this ride. That's always been my problem. I've never heard of the opposites.
No, man. No, later for that stuff.
Well, cool. I would love to go do it. I asked Jon finally, are there, does he have any advice for newbies? If you're like me, you've never been to the Meridian Winter Blast before, what would you tell people like that? And here's what he said.
Well, I think obviously monitor the temperatures and dress warm, but the nice thing about the festival is you can find heat every 150 feet. If you want to get in free and do something for the community, my tip would be visit a chemical bank or a branch, where you can bring 3 cans of food to support Matrix Human Services and not pay to get in and do some goodwill for those in need. But really bring in an open mind about the city. If you haven't been in downtown Detroit in a while, you'll see so many changes and positive, infrastructure and new business that's opened and a lot of light and energy. And, just be ready to have a good time.
All right, so anyway, if you want to head down to the Meridian Winter Blast, like I said, it is happening Friday, Saturday, and Sunday downtown. All the details are over at winterblast.com. You can go check it out.
This is the D.
Brief.
All right, Mike, I don't know if you felt it. There was a big meteor that was streaking through the sky last Tuesday night.
It was a pretty meteor.
Yeah, that joke needs work. No, 8:15. It was a meteor about 2 yards across, and there was a sonic boom. That was the noise that everybody heard.
And it freaked everyone out.
Yeah, and because it caused a 2.0 earthquake.
I think probably the light. I don't know if you've seen videos of it, but the light shooting across the sky and how it just flashed.
Yeah.
That would probably scare the bejeebus out of me.
Well, especially because we just had that scare over with Hawaii and North Korea and all that. But I will say this, coming from California, having grown up there, 2.0 earthquake is nothing. Nothing.
But that's how the Great Lakes were made, with a 2.0 earthquake.
What?
I don't know. I don't
know
know science.
It would take something a lot bigger. Well, here's the good news. The rocks are not radioactive if you find any. Because people went hunting. They're like going and looking for these meteorites.
See, I saw that movie, World of Worlds, with Tom Cruise.
Yes.
And that's how the aliens got into their spaceships or their attack machines that were underground. They came in through meteors, hit the ground, barreled into the ground.
You think that's what happened?
And then jumped into their machines and attacked the humans.
So you're worried about that?
Dude, I got a little. I'm not gonna lie. I got a little. My brain's
Did you get to sleep that last Tuesday night? Were you able to? Were you up all night?
Well, driving back from Clio, I didn't know what I was driving back from.
Right.
I had to show up north of here, and I didn't know what I was driving into, man. I didn't know if everyone were like, taking over, and I had to save them.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I know that people are out hunting for little pieces of this meteorite. Apparently, to find one, it's very unlikely. They are rarer than gold, platinum, diamonds, or emeralds.
Wow.
Worth of actually about $1,000 per gram. That's a lot.
So it's like a Bitcoin.
Yes, kind of. I was thinking crack, but okay.
You paid $1,000 for a crack rock?
I don't know. What does crack go? I really
Why
don't.
are you asking me?
I don't know. Maybe
You're from Detroit.
All right, fair enough. And it turns out that if you find any on national parks grounds, then they belong to the government. They're not yours. But the good news is, if you have homeowners insurance, it actually covers meteors.
Yeah. We are farmers. Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum. We can't get sued for that, right?
No, well, probably. Who knows? Yeah, and then this is the other thing that I thought was just ridiculous. I don't know if you saw this. MLive, tweeted about this when this happened, and they posted a photo of a 2,000-year-old crater. That was the image that they used of just this huge, which, in the age of fake news, you don't do that, all right? That's not right, all right?
I'm surprised they didn't show like that old black and white movie with the moon, with the rocket landing into the eye.
Yeah, right?
That's just how.
So, anyway, in just a few moments, we're going to talk about the Pixar exhibit, because you went and saw it over the weekend.
I did.
I did too, so we'll talk about that.
This is the Deep Brief.
On stage.
All right, Mike, let's take a quick look at what's happening in theaters all around the Detroit area. First of all, at the Detroit Rep Theater, you've got Dauphin Island by native Detroiter Jeffrey Chastain. That's happening this weekend. Also at the Fisher Theater, you've got The Bodyguard, starring Deborah Cox in that Whitney Houston role. Fox Theater has Sesame Street Live, Let's Party. You ever...
Yes.
You have?
I have gone to too many
Really?
Sesame Street Live. I've sat in the front row of a couple of those things. It's pretty manic, man.
Wow, okay.
Kids lose their crap.
I have never seen
Literally and figuratively.
Meadowbrook Theater in Rochester has Nana's Naughty Knickers. The Open Book Theater in Wyandotte has Emily. Ringwald Theater in Ferndale has Let the Right One In. That looks very cool. It's all vampire. I'm into like vampires. I was a Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan, and I've been a vampire fan ever since. Slipstream Theater Initiative in Ferndale has Tales from the Mitten. It's all about Michigan. It's written by some Michiganders. Stagecrafters in Royal Oak has Into the Woods opening this weekend, and the Tipping Point Theater in Northville has Every Brilliant Thing. Coming up in just a moment, we'll take a look at what's happening in the movie theaters.
This is the Deep Brief.
About last week.
All right, Mike, let's talk about last week.
Yeah, we are.
Because I saw on Facebook over the weekend that you headed over to the Henry Ford Museum.
And I saw that you headed over to the Henry Ford Museum.
I did. I was there on Sunday.
I was there on Saturday.
Oh, how was it? What'd you think?
Man, listen, Henry Ford, first of all, if I have said it once, I've said it a million times. Detroit has the best museums in the country.
It really does.
The Henry Ford, the DIA, the Charles Wright Museum, the Science Center. It's the Automobile Museum. It's just Detroit Historical Museum. Great places to go just in downtown Detroit. I'm not even talking about suburbs, but Henry Ford Museum, which is in Dearborn, had a very cool exhibit. We talked about it last week.
Yeah, I think this is becoming a theme on this show where you and I will sit there and we'll go interview somebody. We're like, oh, we got to go to that.
Go check that out.
Right?
Well, it was the Pixar. The science behind Pixar.
So they show
exhibition.
All the making of how all this
Absolutely.
stuff is
The
done.
science that goes into it, the design, the lighting, the set design, down to, they walk you through all of it. A cute little film, 5-minute film up front. Then you get to go and play around with some of the tools that they use. And there's a life-size
Buzz Lightyear.
Buzz Lightyear and Woody. Oh, not Woody. I'm sorry. Buzz Lightyear. There's Mikey and Sully
from Monsters Inc.
Inc. And cute little displays and artwork. Beautiful artwork. I don't know if you paid attention to that.
Yeah.
But beautiful canvas artwork that I would buy in a heartbeat. The one from Finding Nemo that was on the outside. The Incredibles. That was awesome. There was a really, really cool one with the one of the Pixies. I can't remember which movie it was from.
The one about the emotions.
Yes.
Right. The
Inside Out.
Yeah.
Yes. Was there. But the cool thing about it is I went there with my 9-year-old daughter, and she got to see what I do in my day job, my day life. It's science and it's math, and I love both.
Well, that was one
we
of the...
blurted out, man.
That was one of the things, because my girlfriend and I were there with her granddaughter, who's about the same age, 10 years old, and they don't pull punches when they're talking about the math in it. Like
No.
they were, and I was kind of wondering, how much of this is getting absorbed. I think she was picking up on it though.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
But they were not talking down to kids.
No,
in
not
this
at all.
They were like, this is how it's done. One of the things I thought was really cool was the Bugs Life exhibit, where they
that
showed
was
you,
way cool.
Yeah, how perspective works and what it's like to see the world from the point of view of
an ant.
Yeah.
Of a bug. Yeah, that was cool. The Finding Nemo with the lighting.
And how much light affects mood.
And right, the temperature of the Nemo that was there. That was cool. I dug the up display where they're talking about set design and the lighting and all. From the lamps to the sunlight to changing the color of the sun and the angle and all. It was just absolutely incredible. It was absolutely incredible. And yeah, it's for kids because again, it's Pixar. But it was so cool as an adult to see all of this. I was giddy.
Yeah.
I was absolutely giddy going in there. So
and they take you through the process. They go, this is
the entire process.
I didn't know that they started by sculpting these characters. That was one of the first. First they sketch it, and then they go find a sculptor, and they say, "You make it." And then based on the sculpture, they start to craft
design,
it and
right?
do the design, and it's a really well done exhibit.
Yes, very well done. Kudos.
Yes, so it's going to be there, by the way, through March. So
Yes.
you've got some time, but definitely.
But hurry up and do it. Don't wait. Go check it out.
Go check it out. Some guys that are going to miss out on it are, the folks over at Amazon, because it turns out they're not putting their headquarters here.
Boo.
We'll talk about that in just a moment.
Action. This is the Deep Brief.
On the screen.
All right, Mike, what's happening in the world of film?
Well, this week, Seth, nationally, Maze Runner, The Death Cure. Yeah.
How many is this?
I don't know, but those wacky kids are still running, it seems. I think this is like the 12th Maze Runner.
Right.
You would think that they would just get it right the first time. Look, I'm tired of...
Who moved my cheese?
Yes, exactly. Well, that's out. So for all you youngsters that want to go check out Maze Runner, Hostels is out. That's with Christian Bale, and he stars as a legendary army captain who reluctantly agrees to escort a dying Cheyenne war chief and his family back to tribal lands.
This is the Western, right?
Yes.
And I've seen the previews for it.
Yeah, it's getting some love. It got a 73% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's not bad.
Not bad.
Rosamund Pike and Wes Studi is also in this. Also, interesting movie. Please Stand By. This has Dakota Fanning, and she's portraying a young autistic woman who runs away from her caregiver in order to deliver a 500-page Star Trek script to a writing competition in Hollywood.
What?
Yeah. And she's kind of guided along by the spirit of Dr. Spock. So she's autistic.
All right, but Leonard Nimoy's not in this.
No, he's not in it. That would be incredible if he would. But
well, he keeps showing up.
Yeah. Toni Collette is in it.
She's fantastic.
And Marla Gibbs from The Jeffersons.
Yeah.
She's in it too.
And Toni Collette, I loved her in United States of Terror. Did you ever see that?
No.
Oh, she was amazing. Yeah.
Okay.
She was great in that.
Check it out.
Yeah, really, really good.
All right. At the Main Art Theater in Royal Oak, you have Call Me By Your Name, Phantom Thread, I, Tanya.
Yeah, that's getting a lot of love. Winning awards and
I'm going to check it out. And Friday Midnight Show, I love to talk about their Friday Midnight Show. This one is no different. The Lost Boys.
This one I've never seen.
I want Oprah on it. The Lost Boys.
This is Vampires 2, right? And I've never seen it. I need to go see this. I know.
This is back in the 80s. Yeah, man.
This is the whole
killer.
The whole Breakfast Club crew. All those guys who were in
the Coreys.
The Brat Pack
Corey
and all
Feldman
that.
and all.
Yeah. So cool.
All right, Maple Theater and Kitchen in Bloomfield, Darkest Hour, The Post, Phantom Thread is also showing there. And interesting film, a documentary called 85, the greatest team in football history, about the Chicago Bears in their championship run in 1985. And they are considered by many to be the greatest football team ever.
Oh, cool.
All right. Detroit Film Theater at the DIA. Faces Places, a cool-looking documentary. It's about 89-year-old Agnes Varda, who won an honorary Oscar for cinematic achievement, and 33-year-old photographer and muralist, JR, as they travel the French countryside learning stories of locals and painting epic-sized photographic portraits of them, which are then displayed in the most startling and unexpected places.
That sounds like a DIA film.
Yeah, and it sounds very interesting. Looking at the video on it, looks great. Also at the Redford Theater, they are showing That's Entertainment, their 90th anniversary of the Redford Theater. You might want to go check that out. And also, SAG Awards were this weekend.
Yeah, Detroit get any love?
Got plenty of love. Krista Bell hosted. She was the first host.
I saw
of the
her
SAG
speech,
Awards.
too, and she took some shots. She was she didn't shy away from things.
She gave Melania a little pokey poke.
You know what? I love Kristen Bell. I just think she's fantastic. I've been a fan since Veronica Mars. I love The Good Place, the
Good
show
Place
that
is
she's
also
in now.
great show.
But also all the stuff that she does on the side. Like she just seems like that is totally somebody that I would want to go hang out at a bar with and just drink beer with.
Just make sure Dax Shepard knows.
Right. No, I mean not even like that. Like she's just like cool to hang out. You know what I mean?
She does. And from everything that I've heard about her, I know people that know her personally, went to school with her. They say that she's the bee's knees.
Yeah. One day we'll get her on the podcast.
One day she'll be on this podcast. Also, Sam Richardson, our buddy from the show Detroiters on Comedy Central.
Yeah.
He's also on Veep.
Yes.
The show Veep, and they won a SAG for outstanding performance by an ensemble in a comedy series. I say ensemble, not ensemble.
I understand. It's French.
I'm refined.
Well, congratulations, Sam.
And that is it.
Hey, speaking of awards, the Detroit Symphony Orchestra has got a couple of Grammy nods, and Grammys are coming up, so we will talk to them in just a moment.
I would like to say to the people of Detroit,
I can feel the difference.
Come down to Detroit.
The Detroit Institute of Arts.
The Detroit Zoo.
The Michigan Science Center.
Detroit Cocktail Classic.
The Arab American National Museum.
The Little Caesars Arena.
The Henry Ford.
Eastern Market.
The Q Line.
The Detroit Derby Girls.
Motor City Brew Tours.
I think everybody can feel it.
it's a comeback story that everybody's been rooting for.
Detroit is moving.
And you're listening to The Debrief.
And you are listening to The Debrief.
The Debrief. Debrief.
The Debrief.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in Detroit, but there's one thing that's not going on in Detroit.
What's that, Seth?
That would be the new Amazon headquarters. You know, we made a hard pitch. You know, Dan Gilbert
They should have brought it here, man.
left it all out on the field going for this. You know,
Alexa, what's a bad decision? Amazon not coming to Detroit, Michael.
Yeah.
I know that, Alexa.
So the big news came out this last week that Amazon had narrowed its headquarter list to 20 cities. I couldn't believe we didn't make top 20. Like, if it were top 5, that would be one thing.
They're not even, none of these cities are even the best cities to visit, according to several magazines. Detroit is, and they're not on this list.
I mean, look, some of them, sure, fine. Austin, Texas, yes, that's a cool city. Nashville, that's a cool city.
Okay,
You know,
right. Columbus, Ohio. Blech.
Yeah, come on.
Washington, D.C., thumbs down.
Yeah, I mean,
They're not even working.
open.
Right.
It's not even open.
Come on, man. Come on.
Jeez. And some of these are just vague. Northern Virginia.
What is that?
Like somewhere out in the woods.
Is it Michigan, part of Northern Virginia?
I think so.
It's just,
So I don't know about all this. I mean, you were a big fan. You wanted this to happen, right?
I did want it to happen, man. It was a lot of jobs. What was it, 50,000 jobs?
It was a lot of jobs.
Coming to whatever city lands it, it would have been absolutely phenomenal to have that here. And not only that, to have it here and be a part of the bustle and the new growth and the hip hop happening that's going on in Detroit. But, you know, whatever.
So what tanked it? Was it the potholes?
I don't know.
Because the potholes are bad.
The potholes are bad. We do have some bad potholes, but I mean, the state was willing to give up a lot to get them here. The city was ready to give up a lot to get them here.
Well, so I'm always skeptical of these things with the big, the big companies coming in, for the tax breaks and this, that, the other thing. I mean, the state was willing to let Amazon keep 100% of its workers' state taxes for 10
Jimmy
years.
Cricket.
Yeah, and 50% for the following 10 years. But they still would have had the workers pay their Detroit personal income tax. So it would have been good for the city. It wasn't like the city was going to lose out on taxes.
No, man.
Just the state. But, the potholes, that's the state.
It's like New York City was a finalist.
Yeah, like New York needs an LA. I mean...
Yeah, traffic. Oh, yeah, that's smart. Atlanta, come on, man.
I did hear that public transportation was a factor. And one of the things that's obviously happened here is the regional transportation has gotten shot down. And I wonder if people are thinking twice about that now. I wonder if people are saying maybe we made the wrong decision or maybe we got to do something about
that's a good point. It might be an impetus for that to push Detroit and southeastern Michigan into that whole regional transportation mode like every other major metropolitan city. But
I mean, don't get me wrong. The Q line is cute.
The people mover does move people.
Right. But really, I think we could step up the game a little bit.
It's a circle. One's a circle. One's a straight line back and forth.
Yeah.
So I think if we started to expand out to the nether worlds of Detroit, the outside of Detroit, then I think we'd be better off.
All right, well, here's my suggestion. Next time, Dan Gilbert, send in the heavy hitters. Mike and I will step up to the plate.
That's right.
We'll get it done. We're closers.
That's right. So maybe Detroit now can get the big MySpace building.
Yeah.
Get to the polling.
All right, coming up in just a minute, we're going to talk about the concerts coming to town.
This is the deep. This is the deep brief. This is the deep brief.
All right, but it's not all bad news for Detroit. In fact, we've got some very good news for the Detroit Symphony Orchestra. It is up for 2 Grammys this weekend, Best Orchestral Performance and Classical Producer of the Year. Now, the DSO has never won a Grammy, but the producer who put this recording together, Blanton Allspot, he actually has won and been nominated several times. So we sat down with the Director of Digital Initiatives over at the DSO, a guy by the name of Marc Geelhoed, and we asked him some questions about this because obviously this is a big deal for them. Starting with this, let's start with the first nomination here, Mike. Best Orchestral Performance nomination. I asked him what that's all about. Here's what he said.
The DSO's recording of Copland's Third Symphony and 3 Latin American sketches, that recording is nominated for a Grammy for Best Orchestral Performance. It's conducted with Leonard Slatkin, and it's on the Naxos record label. We've done several recordings on Naxos with Mr. Slatkin, all of the music of Aaron Copland. And this is the most recent one, and it's the one that was nominated for the Grammy.
You know, hearing Mark talk about it, it's almost like, yeah, we record them all, and oh yeah, that one got nominated.
Right, exactly.
Oh yeah, we forgot about that one.
We did, Duck Duck Goose. We did an ABC song. We did all of that stuff. Oh, and they got that one. All right.
But one of the cool things that he talked about is the building, Orchestra Hall, and how that actually plays a role in the sound of the orchestra. Here's what he said.
It was recorded live here in Orchestra Hall, and Orchestra Hall is coming up on its 100th anniversary in 1919, and it really is one of the finest concert halls in America. And I didn't know that when I moved here. I had heard reports from different people in the industry that it was a really nice hall, but I had no idea what it really was until I got here. And I think I was listening to a rehearsal probably the first week I started, and I was like, okay, well, we'll see how this goes. The orchestra is coming back from their summer break. This is the first time, and bang, from the first note, it was this gorgeous sound, and everything was right there and in place, and the hall had this beautiful glow to it, and this recording captures that, and it's a great thing that it does. But really, to get that full experience, it's worth getting a ticket in one of the balconies and hearing that sound just really come over you.
Our podcast would probably sound amazing if it were recorded in Orchestra Hall.
So why don't we do it?
Yeah, we should know somebody. You got any connections?
I know a janitor at the orchestra.
Okay,
maintenance person.
We'll break in.
Right.
That'll work
keys,
great.
Right.
All right, so anyway, that is the first nomination, Best Orchestral Performance. The second nomination is Classical Producer of the Year. That's for Blanton Allspot, and we asked Mark about that. Here's what he said. There
is a Producer of the Year classical category, and Blanton has been nominated in that category for this recording and 3 or 4 others that he's worked on. He has a company in Boston that he's part of called Sound Mirror, and they make orchestral recordings and opera recordings mainly in the United States. There may be some that are overseas in Europe, but they work with us. They work with the Pittsburgh Symphony. I think the Houston Grand Opera. He's done some work down there. So yeah, he's busy. They're busy, and he's been recognized.
So I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, what goes into being a classical producer?
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Run with
Actually, I
it.
was thinking like what I'm going to have for lunch tomorrow, and what goes into being a classical producer.
Well, I asked him that question. Here's the answer.
It is a very specialized thing, but it's not in a studio. It's live. Right. And so, they have a battery of microphones and equipment that they bring in whenever we're making a recording like that. And that complements the existing recording system that we have here, because we do record every classical concert here. We have an audio engineering room downstairs. We have an audio engineer who's part of our stagehand group who does all of that. But yeah, it's a really fascinating thing to see these producers and talk to them and find out sort of what their philosophy is. And there's some people bring a mentality of, I want the recording to sound like what the conductor hears, which would be one way of approaching it. And there are others who want a sound that's as if it's what the audience is hearing in a particular part of the hall. And there are ways of adjusting the audio and the various parts of the orchestra using reverb and other techniques to create that effect. And it's all a matter of personal taste, and it's a combination of very specialized technical knowledge to know how all of that gear works, and then the artistic knowledge to be able to look at a musical score and have nearly the same amount of knowledge about it as to what it should sound like as the conductor does themselves. And then the sort of interpersonal ability to say, well, this is what I want. What do you think? Can I persuade you to do it my way? Do I have to do it your way? What's the diplomacy here? So it's an interesting job that those guys have.
Yeah, I think that's a very specialized skill set to be. When you think about the fact that this is recorded essentially live.
Yeah.
Think about that. We've got this whole setup here just to do this podcast, and we're just talking. We're not playing instruments.
Yeah, like if one instrument is offbeat or out of sync or whatever, like say the kazoo, everyone else is jamming away with their violins and whatever else.
You don't just need the players to be doing it well. Like you actually need the recording to go well too. So you've got to have the equipment for all of that. Yeah, that's,
you just can't stop and then go back and do all that stuff like P. Diddy would do.
That's pretty amazing. So good luck to Blanton
yes.
there. One of the cool things about the DSO, we hear a lot of criticism about the renaissance of Detroit happening in just certain neighborhoods. That you often hear that it's downtown and it's midtown, but what about all the other areas of Detroit? One of the cool things about the DSO is that they actually do get out of midtown. And Mark, talk to me a little bit about that.
The great thing about the DSO is that it's not confined to Orchestra Hall. We don't require people just to come to Midtown Detroit to hear us. We do make a concerted effort to go out to different parts of Southeast Michigan, different parts of the city, to work in schools, to sort of be what the community needs an orchestra to be in this day and age. And we're not alone in that. A lot of orchestras are trying to do that and do that with various degrees of success. But, I think we really put that in the foreground and at the center of what we do. And that is a unique thing.
Yeah, I think that's cool. I think that's really important.
It's way cool, man.
Yeah. So anyway, the Grammys are happening this Sunday night on CBS. Of course, they don't...
This Sunday?
Yeah, they don't televise the classical winners, but we do hope the DSO does well. Like we said, they're up for Best Orchestral Performance. They're up against some cities like Cincinnati, San Francisco, the Pittsburgh Symphony, and the Minnesota Orchestra. We may not be able to beat those cities out for an Amazon headquarters.
I was just going to say, man, listen, Grammys, don't be like Amazon and make a dumb mistake. Give it to Detroit. We rock.
All right, coming up in just a minute, we've got our comedy guru here in the house, Bill Bushart, and we're going to talk to him.
This is the D
concert calendar.
All right, Mike, let's talk about the concerts that are coming to town. On Wednesday, January 24th, you have Fetty Wap at St. Andrews Hall.
You didn't say that right.
Oh, did I not?
No, it's pronounced Fetty Wap.
All right, let me try that. Wait, hold on. Betty Whoop
There you go.
at St. Andrews Hall. Walk the Moon are going to be at the Fillmore on Thursday, January 25th. You've got Swayze at the Magic Bag. Did I do that right?
You did that correctly.
Good. Friday, January 26th, Candlebox is going to be at St. Andrews Hall. Saturday, January 27th, you've got Chase Rice at the Fillmore, and Sheila E. is going to be at the Andiamo Showroom.
Percussionist extraordinaire.
Yes. Sunday, January 28th, you've got REO Speedwagon happening at the Soundboard, and Tiny Moving Parts are going to be at the Loving Touch. Coming up in just a moment, we're going to talk sports.
Keep up with us. Download our mobile app.
The Deep Brief.
All right, Mike, we've got a guest in studio that you and I both know well.
Oh, yeah, it's one of my favorites. My comedy Yoda.
This is the guy who got us into stand-up comedy.
Yes.
Both of us started by taking the basically the Comedy 101 class over at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle there in Royal Oak. This guy's opened for Gilbert Gottfried. He's worked with Mark Norman, Roy Woods Jr., Mike Costa. He's a 20-year comedy veteran, performed all over the U.S., including Gilda's Laugh Fest, Oddball Comedy. Please welcome Bill Bushart.
Hey, thanks for having me on your show.
No problem. Thanks for coming by.
I feel good to be here.
It's good to see you. I mean, especially because you're the guy who got us into all. I mean, you're responsible for this guy over here.
I am not responsible for anything.
You're responsible for just about every comedian I know in the Detroit area.
Maybe I touched their lives in a way where they were misguided people looking for some direction. Because really, I'm more of a life coach than anything else.
You just got to go there, and everyone went there, and now look.
Yeah, and now look at.
How did you wind up getting
there,
comedy?
Keep going there, keep saying things,
right,
and eventually,
that's exactly 100% true.
Somebody will say something to you, and you'll get to say more things in front of bigger crowds.
First time I asked, I'm like, "Hey, Bill, how long should I, will it take until I become an MC?" He goes, "Well, how many times have you gone up?" 13. Talk to me when you get to 100. Mm-hmm. And I get to it when I get past 100 times on stage. Mm-hmm. How many times? Talk to me when you get to 200. And then it hit me because I only half
ends.
stupid. It's like, hey, he just means to go up. That's some Jedi mind trick stuff,
Wax on, wax off. It's like,
here comes Jeter. I'm going to tell him to go up 50 more times. Okay, so stop bothering me about this. I don't know, Mike. I have no answers.
Did you have a Yoda? Who was your?
Did I have a Yoda? Not really.
Oh, really?
I actually, I took the comic class because I knew nothing about comedy or what to do with comedy or where comedy. I saw an ad in the Metro Times, so I took the class with my buddy Sal D'Amelio.
Mm-hmm.
You guys know Sal.
Great
We
guy,
took it
man.
at the castle,
Yeah.
and the teacher was, the instructor was. Gilda Hauser, so she taught the class and everything, and she was really good at organizing our thoughts and getting us directed, which really I think is a lot of what the class is, more than teaching people to be funny, because you guys are going to put your own stamp on things. It's just about the mechanics of speaking in public is where we really focus on. And but as far as I don't know. We had a lot more clubs back then, and there was a lot more opportunity, so you would learn from a bunch of different people because you had a lot more. There was just a lot more opportunities to work when I started. So
where were people working? Like, what's happening?
Joey's Comedy Club, and then we had both connections, one in Toledo, one in Lansing, and then we had the Chaplains over on the east side, and then we had a bunch of these other clubs that are around town. There's one in Flint called Russo's. I'm probably missing ones that have closed down since I started. I mean, there was a lot of places to go and do comedy and then work with a lot of different comedians too, like on a continuing basis. When I first got in, I was working every week right away because there was no break. There was no other MCs. There was just like this gap between people. Everybody has like a class of people you start with.
Right.
So there was only like a few of us, so we just kind of got in the fold and started working all the time.
So there are more people doing comedy now than there were?
I think there's more people doing comedy now, yeah.
Oh,
and
wow.
less clubs, which
and
is strange.
less places to do it.
Which is why you're seeing, shows at bowling alleys and bars and libraries and recycling centers.
Yeah.
They're very, very clever, man. They're all over the place.
Yeah, it is. It's great. You're just talking the wine bar, places
the wine
like
bar,
that.
right?
Right. So you just did this last night, Mike?
Last night at a place called the Agitated Grape in Davison, Michigan. Which
farmers market comedy,
farmers markets,
market.
yeah, man. I mean, there are a lot of cool places that I had a show at a gaming room, which was outstanding because they had all of these old school video games and the newer video games. So we would play, and then we have the show.
What's the weirdest place you've ever done comedy?
I did a summer party on somebody's deck one time with a karaoke machine, and it was awesome. Went over great, but it was such a weird situation. Little Mike with the feedback. But they loved it, man. You know, it sounded like you had a head cold, you know, when you're talking. But it was good.
So, talk to me a little bit more about the 101 classes. 'Cause, I obviously took it. So, I know what it's like. But what do people come in there? I mean, because we've seen people from all different walks of life come in. Young, old.
Yeah, you name it, from students. We've had so many people go through that class, but where to begin? I mean, I don't even know. When we do it, to me, the class to me is just about people getting their thoughts organized and keeping them motivated to continue to do comedy and to think clearer on stage. You can't really tell people how to be funny. Right. But you can help them get their message across easier. And I like the class because it lets me write jokes for other people, which I enjoy doing, and gives me an opportunity. I've had some people go through where I wrote their whole set for the graduation show.
Oh, wow.
And they do real well, and you're over the corner going, hey, I wrote those jokes. And they deliver them perfectly. I feel really good, And
then they never get on stage again.
But nobody knows, and they never get on stage again.
Like, I could have used that.
And you made
joke.
them a star for a night because you put some words on a page. So.
That's dope, man.
But,
so what about mistakes that people make, or what are the common things that you see?
I think one of the things I see, and I see it sometimes with people coming in and emceeing now, is just not being prepared when they get on stage to do their act.
Right.
Like prepared how? Like knowing their
not
jokes?
knowing what they're going to say, or going up there and, it's just, I feel sometimes they're not prepared for mentally prepared for what they're going to go up and do. Sometimes.
But there's some guys that can ad-lib their way through it, or have just a funny presence. I mean, my problem is I'm so scripted. I use every word I know ahead of time, and the inflection I hit the exact same way every single time. And some guys are just like, they could just stand up there and there's something funny about them just by standing there.
Yeah.
So. Let me ask about the competition that's going on right now, because this is you run this Detroit to LA competition.
Yeah, we've been doing this for about 9-10 years now, and we get a bunch of the young comics together. We have several rounds, and then we whittle it down to the top 10 comedians, and that's going to be happening on the 31st of this month, January 31st, at the Comedy Castle at 7:30. We got 10 very funny people going up. I think excellent comedians. It's going to be a great show. And the winner is going to be flown to Los Angeles, where they'll get a shot at the Comedy Store and other clubs as well. It just depends on who wins and what their material is and everything. But that's pretty much it. The guy who was helping me out with this out in the LA to get the spot, it was the first person to actually ever win this contest.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yes. Okay, a Michigander.
Yeah, and then he ended up going out there, and he ended up getting a job at the Comedy Store. He works there now. His name is Brenton Biddlecombe, and Brenton is the guy that provides us with the spot. And the guy who won it last year, they gave him some great seats to see a great show, and a lot of perks to going out there. They're very friendly to Michigan comics. So
Nice. I need to get out there.
It's a big Michigan group of comics out there. So
I heard also on this show you have a very funny person closing it, and
that would be Michael Jeter.
Who?
Michael Jeter.
Wait, the guy from Comedy Central?
Oh
yeah, I've heard about him. Are you closing out?
Yeah, I'll be closing the show.
So does that mean you're judging? Are you passing judgment? Who are the judges?
The judges will be. I'll be one of the judges with a few other comedians.
Okay.
And I'm sure Mark will weigh in. And we have a kind of a criteria of something we're looking for this year too. So
weigh in, doesn't he? He disappears every.
Well, he still
right?
watches. He's omnipresent.
He's got a spy cam. I didn't know that thing worked live. I thought you just watched it on VHS like a couple days later.
He may. I just assume he's always watching me when I'm there.
Well, he's actually here.
Yes, he could be. What are you on Facebook Live?
Just going live.
Yeah, give us a thumbs up if you're.
Thumbs up, Mr. Ridley, if you're watching this.
All right, Bill, hang out for a few minutes because we want to talk to you a little bit more about this.
All right.
The debrief. The debrief.
Sports Report.
All right, Mike, what's going on in the world of sports?
Well, the Pistons, man. God, man, what can you say about it? They were just inside of being a playoff team. They're like the 7th seed. Now they're outside looking in. They're like 9th or 10th seeded right now. They've just been losing games. They've only won 2 of their last 10. Right, and now they have this big buzzsaw schedule coming up this week. They take on the Jazz and the Thunder at home, and then they play a home-and-home series against the Cavaliers. So it's rough.
You sound like you have no faith.
Yeah, man. Once football season's over, it's cold between February and spring training. So let's see. The Red Wings, they only have 1 game. Thank God. Thankfully, they play the Blackhawks at home, so that's cool. MSU basketball, they have a home game against the Wisconsin Badgers, their first meeting of the season before they travel to Maryland to take on the Terps. The Spartans beat the Terps 3 weeks ago at the Brass, so let's see if they can do it on the road. The Michigan Wolverines basketball team, they are now ranked 23rd in the nation. They head to Indiana to take on the number 3 team, Purdue Boilermakers. That's pretty exciting. Before they come home and take on the Northwestern Wildcats.
Let me ask about the Super Bowl, because that's having an impact on our coaching situation, right?
Yeah, man. The Patriots made it in. Patriots and Philadelphia Eagles. They're both in there, and the Patriots are losing everyone. They're losing everyone. Patricia, their defensive coordinator, is probably going to be named the Lions' new head coach, and that's all I care about.
Right, yeah.
He's got a beard, so...
You've got your whole theory, though, about Belichick.
Yeah, I think Belichick's on his way out.
You think he's
I think he's gone.
And Brady?
And Brady will stick around, but I think he'll only play another 2 years.
All right. Well,
I think he wants to see if he can win it without Belichick. I think the ego is now involved.
All right.
Like, who's really the catalyst for their greatness, so to speak. Also, Tiger Fest.
What is that?
Tiger Fest, Detroit Tigers, man. So fans can come out to the Comerica Park and meet some of the Tiger greats, past and present, get some autographs signed, take some pictures, buy some memorabilia. That's happening Saturday, the 27th. Some volleyball tournament is happening at Beacon Park. Beacon Park is an outdoor park.
How does that work?
I'm assuming they're going to have tents there.
This is like the same place they're doing the polar plunge, right?
Yeah.
So how does that work?
So they're doing it Monday and Wednesday.
Bill, you want to play some winter volleyball?
No. No winter sports, no winter anything.
Are you a sports fan?
Yes, I got drunk on Boilermakers once. That was the first time I ever got drunk, was on Boilermakers.
Was it in Indiana?
No, it was not.
I don't even know what's in a Boilermaker.
What's in Redford.
Is it beer and whiskey?
You drop that beer, you drop that whiskey shot on the bottom, and you
drink
it down. When you don't know anything about alcohol, you think you can do it all night long.
No, you cannot.
All right. The other big thing that we got to talk about is what's going on with the gymnastics and the whole this ugly situation.
Yeah, man. MSU, they've been taking some lumps for pretty much hiding this whole sordid thing with Dr. Larry Nassar, and the guy assaulted over 150 girls over the course of 20 years, I believe.
Yeah.
Just a terrible situation. MSU, the president, Luana Simon.
Yeah.
She didn't do a very good job. She didn't show up to the first day of the hearings. And then after they roasted her on the radio and TV, then she shows up the next day. It's like too little too late. You already showed your hand.
Well, and that's the big debate is whether somebody at the university should be held accountable, because that went on for way too long and way too many people. I mean, this isn't a little oversight or something small that should have been missed.
Well, it's not just that. The FBI, they were investigating the guy for a while, and he was still allowed to see patients, right, even as he's being investigated. A lot of people dropped the ball on this, and there are other sad stories, just terrible stories about MSU and how they're handling the treatment for some of these girls and stuff. It's just pathetic, and heads need to roll, plain and simple. Let's not end it on that. The Lexus Velodrome. We've been talking about this. The big cycling center.
I see it every time I go down the highway now.
It's open now, man. They have their first races this Friday and Saturday at 7:30. It's on Mack Avenue and 75.
What about biking, Bill? You going to go hit the Velodrome?
I am currently in a spin class. It's a true story.
The D Brief.
Your guide to Detroit's arts and entertainment scene.
All right, we have Bill Bushart here. He is a 20-year comic veteran, one of the best in all of Michigan. He's also the guy who teaches comedy over at Marc Ridley's Comedy Castle, and he's running the big competition, the Detroit to LA comedy competition. The finals are Wednesday, January 31st. Bill, I heard you're also working on a book. Is that true?
Yes, I'm writing my memoirs. My memories. How do you say that? My memoir.
Memoir.
I've just been sitting around lately. You get some free time during the day when you're not on the road and stuff, and you just start writing. And I just started writing some stories and stuff and some, just some observations that I've seen over the years through comedy. Mostly my view from open mic, running the open mic at Joey's. That's where most of the thoughts are coming from, and some of the characters from back then. So, and some of the guys you run into and all that stuff. So, I don't know where it's going. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just putting words on a page. I've been sitting down, pounding out some stuff lately. So,
is it different than writing stand-up?
Yeah, I mean, I have to use a memory.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of, just trying to come up with, where I'm going to take all this and sharing the stories. But yeah, it's more real than my stand-up act.
Oh, really? How do you write your stand-up? What's your writing process?
My writing process is I write about a joke every 3 years at this point. I like, lately it's been a lot of fun just going up there with a loose idea and then doing the regular act and then sliding off and just trying to work out some stuff. And it's been going pretty well. I've been having a lot of fun just talking about getting older and things that are happening to my body, and which is, I'm sure you're very excited about that, Mike.
Yes.
More than you know, Bill.
And I don't know, just a bunch of different stuff lately. I'm just trying to, work some things out and do a little longer form because I love to set up punchline stuff, but it'd be nice to tell
stories.
Yeah.
Man. And, I mean, with your writing and everything, you don't get an opportunity to go up and do open mics like. You're not an open micer.
Yeah.
So the only
I should
time
be. It's funny you bring that up because I was thinking today, I got to go back out to the open mics. Really, you have to.
What do you think you do?
Just to work on that short set and try out the new ideas and stuff. But I also know that's it's a very lonely place. The open mic.
Yeah.
It can be a very hurtful place.
We don't understand your humor, old man. It's like, what?
Yeah, that's the other reason, too. I got gray in my beard like you. I don't know what you're going through, but I walk in, I know what they're saying. What the hell is this old guy doing?
I will wrap a scarf around my head.
Because the open mics are all the 20-somethings coming up.
And it's their time, and it's their time to practice, and it's their time to start moving forward. No doubt about it, so...
Yeah, I always get asked, like, why are you doing this? You have a day job. It's like,
it's hard.
You can't be funny and have a day job.
You're not allowed to do two things.
No, exactly.
Don't pursue your dreams.
I see you chewing gum. Can you walk at the same time?
I have a hard time getting up for work the next day after doing it. That's I'm at that age where I got to go get home.
I'm always like, let's get the show going. I got a 3-hour drive home. Come on.
Right.
Why are we waiting? We're 10 minutes past start time.
But you do a lot of crowd work. I mean, that was the thing that I noticed about you the first time I saw you.
Oh, yeah, I love it. I love it, man. And the interaction with the audience is my favorite part of doing stand-up. And I have the jokes weaved in there to allow me to do that as well. So it's always a different experience, too, because you never know what gems are going to come out of the audience when you're having fun with it. So
what's the secret? Because I've done no crowd work. I've never even tried.
The secret to good crowd work and doing it well is failing a lot at it.
Really?
And failing hard and wanting people to beat you up and...
You
don't want them to beat you up, but they want to beat you up.
Does that happen? There's a video that's going around Facebook right now. This comic that
I saw that today.
You've ever been attacked? Or?
I have been threatened many times. I was attacked one time. It was at the Foxtown Grill in downtown. And I did a private show, and I apparently irritated somebody, and they had to hold the guy back. He wanted to kill me, man. They had to call security. They had to, it got really out of hand. I mean, it was way over the top. But, he obviously had some drinks and no sense of humor. I was picking on people. I was picking on his mom. I didn't know it was his mom. And apparently I'm supposed to know this going in, and then all hell broke loose. She was having a great time, but the son obviously couldn't handle it.
Yeah, that's Randy. Don't say anything about his mother.
Yeah. Little warning would have been nice.
I will say that that's what surprised me the first time I saw you. The first time I saw you was at Holly Hotel, and when you teach the class, you are such a nice, encouraging, gentle soul.
All right, guys, don't curse.
Right, and
keep it clean.
And then you get up on stage, and it's like something completely different. I mean, you are.
Listen, when I was in this class, a group of, because we were very, very close knit class, a group of us decided we were going to see him at Joey's, and I was like all excited, like, yeah, we're gonna go see our teacher at Joey's. So we all walked in there like, you know, the Peanuts, you know, we had Charlie Brown and all of that, and we sit in the back. We're all waiting for him to come out, and he comes out, and the whole time our mouths were open, like, wow, this dude is electric.
Yeah.
He's electric. And from that day on, it's like, I'm not performing. I'm not listening to him about this clean stuff, man.
Right.
I'm gonna twist it and bend it and all that. I don't do crowd work. That's the one thing I don't do. I get up there, I deliver my jokes and stuff. I have fun, but I do it. I do my act in the spirit of Bill. He's like a little Yoda, you know, like he's a little projection over my shoulder and stuff. He said, "Go harder, Mike." I'll go harder.
Were you always that way, or did you?
No, I learned, and I failed a lot at it, and I had a lot of people disappointed in me. But you know, you're going to fail in this, so you might as well. I always say, a lot of times I'd be doing bad, and I would just say, "All right, I'm doing so bad that I'm going to make this memorable."
Right.
And I would just go all out, and I would just go all out assault on the audience sometimes. Not even worried about getting a laugh, but really that confrontation and that weirdness in the air and that awkwardness and stuff. And that would really fuel me for some reason. And then after a while, I figured out how to manipulate it a little bit so it would work for me. And now I feel like I've got a pretty good grip on it.
And that's the thing, not being afraid to fail. Jim Carrey has a documentary where it's about his time portraying Andy Kaufman,
right,
and all of that. And he has a quote in it that he goes, "Look, man, if you're going to fail, you might as well fail doing something you love." And that shook me. Like, okay, it's simple. It's just simplistic because people think that, okay, I have to fail at something I hate. I get up every day and I go through this grind and all of that. But to do comedy and have things go wrong, you go, okay, I can learn from that and I can get better at it. But I'm learning doing something I want to get better at versus sitting around in a cubicle and just bleeding your life away and all that. It just sucks, man. So I admire him for saying that. That's cool that he said that.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, because you do have that aggressive style, but it never comes out as you versus the audience. How do you be aggressive with an audience?
It used to come out me versus the audience, for sure. And there was something very combative. But now I feel like, and it got into my head, too, a while back, every good show needs a villain.
Right.
And I've just come out and I'm kind of like the villain of the evening. And I'll take my lumps, too. If the audience hits me with a zinger, I know how to play things up and stuff too. I watched a lot of Johnny Carson turning his head and walking away from the camera and all that stuff, and all that schmaltzy things. I like to put my own little twist on that as well too. So it's, to me, my act is something you would have seen in the 1970s.
Yeah, who are the guys that you look up to?
Rickles, and I was a huge Sam Kinison. I thought he was the absolute best television debut on network television in the history of comedy was Sam Kinison's David Letterman performance. Watch his first time on Letterman. Yeah. He drops the mic. That's how great it went. He walks off, throws down the mic, the place is going nuts. They cut to a commercial. And you say, that guy's a superstar.
Wow.
It still gives me goosebumps just talking about it. I'll watch every once in a while for inspiration, man. But he was a huge influence. And then, that Andrew Dice Clay era, all those guys from the Rodney Dangerfield Young Comedian specials. Those are the people that really kind of influenced and got me excited about comedy. But I didn't start it right when I saw that. It took me a while to get into it. But those were the guys that, for my era. And I don't know if those guys could do it now.
Why not?
Or be as successful, do you think?
Yeah, why?
I don't know. I think it's the way the world is now. Right. I just think everybody, it would be very, it's kind of a minefield sometimes.
Who could maintain? Willie Tyler and Lester.
Oh, yeah, Willie Tyler,
Lester. It would be huge nowadays.
So I was clicking on one of those internet lists the other day, and it was...
We don't know Lester's past.
And it was talking about how, for some reason, Married with Children, and how that was a really edgy sitcom at the time, and yet it doesn't stand up well. And I wonder about, because you say some of these comedians may not, hold up today or wouldn't be able to do it today. And I wonder if, even in radio, there was this thing where you would push the envelope, back when I was coming up in the 90s with Howard Stern and everything. And now that you got the internet, I don't know that tension exists.
Yeah, maybe it doesn't.
You know,
I mean,
in the same way.
I really think it's a little more like when you're at a club now. I like to attack the audience if I say something, and there's that ooh, or they get really sensitive to things, and I think it's important to address that right away. And put it back on them and get aggressive about it. At least I do, and then we'll figure it out from there. But you can't have them kind of dictate what you're going to do up there, or you're dead.
Is there a political correctness now that there wasn't
I think
before?
so. I think to some extent, and I think there just seems to be to me. That's all. Maybe.
Okay, but do you think that it's the comedian's responsibility to, I know you said to, when you hear an audience do that, but do you think that it's every comedian's responsibility to just say, okay, screw that, we're going to go ham, we're going to be wrong, we're going to attack and poke these guys back, so they don't get used to that whole, every time I go to a show, I got to be outspoken, I have to be vocal and show my displeasure?
What are you asking me?
I use a lot of big words there. The answer is yes.
Oh, I heard displeasure, so you've seen my act.
Yeah. No, your act is very pleasing.
I just have noticed it over the last few years. It just seems like the audiences sometimes get a little uptight. That's all.
I've heard that it's different in different cities. I've heard Ann Arbor is different than Detroit.
Yeah, Ann Arbor can be a real bear.
What's the difference?
Sensitivity, political correctness.
Really?
Yeah. Compared to Royal Oak or Lansing, when you would do Lansing, is totally different. And I'm not knocking Ann Arbor. I love doing that club, and I think the crowd's out there. But you're navigating a little bit through some stuff sometimes. If you're,
so do you think about it? Well, like, how do you read a crowd and tell?
Well, I first few jokes, how they're going to react, and then there's an energy in the room. Yeah. I could tell right away if I get my first couple jokes out and they're nice and strong laughs. I know I'm gonna have a nice night.
Do you ever shuffle your set based on what you're
all
seeing?
the time. All the time now. I seem to do that a lot more. I don't really have it in the order that I used to. I'll just do whatever. It seems I have the top 40. I call it. So I just put on. I'm like a DJ.
Wow.
Putting on my top 40.
Wow.
That's the other problem I have, because I'll be able to walk into a room like up north and I'll go, I know my jokes won't work here, but I got nothing else to replace them with. I just don't have enough material.
What you got, man?
Yeah.
I mean, do you ever feel that, just walking into a room like,
this isn't going to work?
Oh, yeah. All the time.
Really?
My whole life is this isn't going to work. My whole career is this. I can't believe I'm on this podcast.
So you might as well do it, right?
I'm just doing it, man.
It's not going to work.
But
why'd you do it anyway?
Sometimes it's fun not knowing, though. When you are nervous and you go, what the heck's going to happen,
Nice. So, all right. Well, look, and we've got the big challenge coming up. So people should buy tickets for this, right? This is going to be...
It's going to be big. The room's going to be full. It's going to be a big room. I can't remember. I'm just going up. Mark Habib, Kyle Forsyth. We got Abby Weitengruber from Flint is in there. Tam Wright. A guy named Nick Tangalina. He's a very funny guy. I mean, there's a lot of a guy named Jim McGowan. He's a middle-aged dude who killed on his set. I mean, we have a lot of funny. A guy named Sean Zorn, young kid going up. There's a very funny group of people going up on the show. It's a very strong show. And it's a pretty popular contest, and people end up coming out to watch it. It's just a really good time,
and it's a great room to play.
Yeah, and Mark was enthusiastic about it. We did it last year for the first time. A guy named Jason Patterson won, and it was just a really good experience for him. And they want to do it again. We're already got next year's planned, or this year's coming up. We start in June, so it's been going great, and people seem to be enthusiastic about it. And so as long as they are, we're going to keep doing it.
All right, cool. And when's the next class start? If people want to,
the next class at the Comedy Castle starts March 8th, Saturday, March 8th, 10:30 a.m.
Perfect. So all the details are over at comedycastle.com.
Yes.
They can see you. And what about you? You got shows coming up that people can
I got a bunch
check
of shows coming up. Thanks for asking.
We let you plug.
I should have had it up on my phone here, but I got The Agitated Grape, which Mike Jeter was at. I don't know if you know, Mike was on Comedy Central.
Yes, he was. With Kevin Hart, I heard.
Kevin Hart, yeah.
But I got some fun stuff coming up here. I'm doing a gun club show which ought to be interesting. I'm not going to insult the audience there.
But you'll have a better story.
I got
to tell.
Burroughs Roadhouse coming up by the 23rd. I got the Fort Wayne Comedy Club on the 24th of March. What do I got in February? Get a little closer. I'm going away. I think I told you guys. I'm going to Mexico. I'm going to Jamaica. I'm so fired up about this. I can't even tell you. We're going to Mexico, hanging out for a week. We're flying to Jamaica from there. Yeah,
nice.
Wife, so,
that's all vacation.
That's why you don't.
You're not going to get
kids,
up at all,
man. Seth.
You're not going to get up on stage at all.
You have kids?
No, I don't.
See, travel, man.
Not I'll admit to.
Get out. I'm doing. I'm working with Rob Little and Sal D'Amelio in March at the Comedy Castle. It's Rob Little's 20th anniversary in comedy. We all started together, and me and Sal are going to open the show, and Rob's going to close it out. So that should be a lot of fun.
All right, cool. Well, we're looking forward to it, man. Yeah. So, hey, thanks so much for stopping by.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
We'll come out and we'll
Good to see you guys.
We'll see the finals. The Detroit to LA comedy competition is happening January 31st over at Marc Ridley's Comedy Castle. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
This is the
Detroit.
This is the deep brief.
That's another show, Mike. Another one in the can.
Another one. We kicked it in a can. That's how badass we were today. It's a great show.
We've got, of course, the pop quiz coming up. We're going to end that in just a minute. We're going to find out if you know which statement about the Underground Railroad is not true. But before we do that, thank you to all of our guests. Comedian Bill Bushart, who not only taught us everything that we know about comedy, but also stopped by the podcast as a little cherry on top.
Great guy, man. Love Bill Bushart.
Yeah, also Jon Witz of the Meridian Winter Blast. Make sure you go check that out this weekend. And Marc Geelhoed, and really everybody over at the DSO. Good luck this weekend. We hope that you bring home some Grammys. So congratulations on the nomination. Thank you to Shay the intern, also Jag and James Clausen, who helped us put this show together. By the way, if you want a list of everything that's going on that we talk about on this show, you can find it over at our website, thedebriefdetroit.com. Sign up for the email, and we will email you a list of things that are happening each and every week in the Detroit area. While you're there, you can also subscribe to this show in whatever you like to listen to podcasts in. What do you listen to your podcast in there?
I listen to the Debrief app, man.
Oh, you do? I
don't mess around.
We do have a mobile app.
Yeah.
So download it for an iPhone or for an Android phone. That's a great way to listen to it. But of course, you can also find it in Apple Podcasts, Google Play. We're in Spotify now, Stitcher, you name it. We're there.
Everywhere, like that flu.
If you want a link to the app, just text the word Detroit to the number 444-999, and we will send it your way. You can also follow us on social media. We are The Debrief Detroit on Facebook, at The Debrief on Twitter, and The Debrief on Instagram. I posted some photos from the Pixar exhibit over at the museum to our Instagram account.
They were great.
Yeah, the WALL-E, the life-size WALL-E. That was pretty cool.
That was pretty cool, man.
If you are a venue or an event organizer here in the Detroit area, you want us to talk about what you're doing, you can send your announcements to press@thedebrief.com. All right, Mike, are you ready for the big pop quiz?
I am ready, Seth. Dun, dun, dun. I like that.
You like the brand
That's
new...
pop quizzy.
Yeah, that's very dramatic music there. All right, here's the way it works. 3 statements, 2 of them are true, 1 of them is false. You need to identify the false one. Statement number 1. The code name for the Detroit stop that was the Underground Railroad was the Northern Horizon. Statement number 2. George Day Baptiste was the valet to William Henry Harrison while he was running for president. And statement number 3. Abolitionists Frederick Douglass and John Brown met in Detroit on March 12, 1859 at William Webb's house, where they disagreed on the role of violence in the movement.
Well, George D. Baptiste had to be a valet. Because he was a barber, man. He did it all. The guy was excellent.
He was multi-talented.
He was great. So William Harrison would have put him on his squad. So that leaves the abolitionists fighting it out in the code name. I am going to have to go with the code name for Detroit being the Northern Horizon.
You don't think it was the Northern Horizon?
No, I think the code name was Up North. That's how they would say it, Up North.
Well, let's find out.
And I get a ding, ding, ding.
Look at that. In fact, you are correct. That was not the code name for the Detroit stop. The code name was not Up North.
You didn't say it right. It's Up North.
Up North. I'm trying. No, the code name was actually Midnight. Was the code name for Detroit on the Underground Railroad. So
on the Midnight Underground Railroad train to Detroit.
Well, you wouldn't want to go back to Georgia.
Well, no.
So yes. So no, you are absolutely correct. All right, before we get out of here, you got to give me another assignment. I am the new guy to Detroit. What do I got to study to know what's going on?
Well, if you've ever been to downtown Detroit, people, the one thing that you would notice is the outstanding architecture. The buildings are phenomenal. So I would like to know more about the architect, the great architect, Albert Kahn.
Albert Kahn.
Albert Kahn, not Shaka Khan.
Not Shaka Khan.
Or Kubla Khan.
Or Cobra Khan.
Or even Garbage Khan. Yeah. I want to know about Albert Kahn.
Comic-Con?
Not even Comic-Con.
Albert Kahn. That is a name I have heard quite a bit since I've been here to Detroit.
Oh, yeah.
I will go find out everything I can find, and I will report back to you. We'll do that next week. Thanks for listening.
The Debrief.
Your guide to Detroit's arts and entertainment scene.